This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is November 6, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host Luke Sylvia, who is burst into song and dance. Luke Sylvia, how are you doing?
Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. Oh, man. 2-0 since we last spoke on the show, Jonathan. This is a wild NBA season. The vibes last episode, they were a little down, and we acknowledged that. But now they couldn't be higher. They could not be higher.
A big turnaround. I was not expecting the week to end this way. We'll talk about the Lakers game a bit later. Like, we'll go into a lot of detail. But just like as we got closer to tip-off against the Lakers, I was feeling worse and worse and worse for a number of reasons, since we all last talked.
Yeah.
But man, big win over the Lakers at home. Lakers fans going home early, quiet for 95% of the game. Big Magic win, great Magic crowd. A lot of great things for the Magic right now, in terms of like their standings in the Eastern Conference. Winning 2 games in a row, a lot of momentum. Paolo Banchero is back in prime form. A lot to be happy about, Luke. Much better vibes since our last episode for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Just want to throw a couple of quick things out there. As you are listening to this on Monday, tonight, the Magic are set to take on the Dallas Mavericks at home at 7 o'clock. We're going to be filming our newest edition of the Six Fan Show outside Amway following that game. So if you're going to the game or you're even going to be in the area tonight after the game, make sure you find Ben outside of Amway. He'll take fan reactions and takes and rants and celebrations. If you guys want to get a big mob together and start crowd surfing, whatever you guys want to do after this hopeful victory over the Dallas Mavericks, be sure to find our boy Ben. Want to run by you guys again. We have our first watch party of the year coming up on November 16th at 8 o'clock. We'll be at Wall Street Plaza to watch the Magic take on the Bulls in the in-season tournament. That's one of our in-season tournament games. Again, that's Friday, November 16th at 8 o'clock, Wall Street Plaza. Again, we're joining forces with the Orlando Magic and Michelob Ultra. Going to be a great time. Make sure that you guys come out for that. And coming up this Thursday, we did one last Thursday against the Jazz. We're going to do another one this Thursday when the Magic take on the Hawks at 9:30. We're going to do another playback where basically you guys can watch along with us while we watch the Hawks game and while we all watch the Hawks game. So if you're interested in that, a lot of people enjoyed the last one. It was a ton of fun. Appreciate everybody that joined that playback. You can find us at playback.tv/Sixth Man Show. Go ahead and subscribe and join our room now so that you'll get notifications when we go live. Those are always a ton of fun. Luke, let's get into the state of the Magic. So this week, the Magic went 2-2 with losses to the Lakers and Clippers in Los Angeles on Monday and Tuesday, and then a big win over the Jazz in Utah on Thursday, and a win in Orlando over the Lakers in their rematch from Monday. That was Saturday night. Luke, the Magic, as we record this, they currently sit 4th in the Eastern Conference. As of Sunday afternoon, the Magic are 15th in the NBA in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 109.8. They're 2nd in the NBA in defensive rating with a rating of 103.5. They are 10th in net rating with a 6.3. Unfortunately, this is going to be our first edition of the season of the injury report. Markelle Fultz has now missed the last 2 games due to left knee swelling. He was named in the starting lineup Thursday against the Jazz about an hour and a half before tip-off, and then about 45 minutes later, he was ruled out. Jamal Mosley said he went through warm-ups and then had some swelling in that left knee, so he has now missed the last 2 games. Gary Harris left Thursday's game in Utah in the second quarter with a strained right groin, so he missed the whole second half Thursday and missed Saturday's game. And then Wendell Carter Jr. is going to have surgery to repair a fractured third metacarpal in his left hand. He'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. That happened basically at the end of that Jazz game. So a big loss. We'll talk about, as we go through the Jazz game, like really what Wendell's absence, means for the Magic and what it's going to mean going forward, Luke. But just massive losses, like really in the span of one game for the Magic.
Yeah, we'll talk about kind of why it hasn't so far been the end of the world. But the last thing you want, and as the Magic continue to mount wins, I mean, we all remember Mo Wagner when he was in the starting lineup, albeit now being Goga, but regardless, with a different person, with a different player at center, the Magic were still able to figure it out last year and go on that huge win streak last season without Wendell Carter Jr. So the optimism is still there. This team can stay afloat with injuries regardless, but you just hope that we don't have to do it with that many players out, especially, if it's Wendell who's out for a good amount of time, he'll be, like you said, and we said, reevaluated in a few weeks. But if we can get Markelle Fultz back, who at this point is questionable at the time of recording this at 9:45 on Sunday night, the 5th, he's questionable as we last have heard. Gary Harris is out. If we could just get at least like one player back every few games until we're back fully healthy, it would be a huge help. I just would hate to squander opportunity when this team is hot and not be as healthy as possible.
Gary Harris has been ruled out for Monday's game. So Markelle questionable. Looks like Gary is still going to be out for a little bit. I tried my best pregame Saturday against the Lakers just to ask Jamal Mosley on sort of what do they expect with Markelle and Gary. Is this just going to be sort of like a day-to-day or something that they expect either of those guys to miss significant time? With Markelle, Saturday was a game-time decision, was ruled out. And now Monday, he's questionable. Seems like that's more of a day-to-day, but he basically gave me like the patented cookie-cutter Orlando Magic response when it comes to injuries. We're just going to watch those guys, monitor them day by day, and see how they respond to treatment. So it seems like Gary, might be out a little bit longer, but a strained groin, that's not something that you want to play around with. That's something that can linger if you don't really do a good job of taking care of that and resolving that issue. Wendell, I'm somewhat thankful that they gave us we're going to reevaluate him in 3 weeks, but the dude is having surgery and broken bones. Last I checked, usually take about 6 weeks to heal. So I would be really surprised if we saw, Wendell at any point before Christmas, maybe that might be when we're looking at getting Wendell back. And sure, we'll talk about the Lakers game. We'll talk about the big W, but I'm not sold that the center rotation is going to be fine between now and then. But we'll talk about that a little bit more when we have the longer conversation about what Wendell's loss means.
And I do want to add about Gary Harris. He did have, from what I found, he had a strained groin back in 2020. So this is something that he has dealt with before. You talk about it lingering. I'm sure he made a full recovery, and I don't know if it's just chance that he does it again or if it's just something that has a higher propensity to happen once you've already had the injury when it comes to your groin. But that's something that he dealt with. And I was trying to find how long he was out for just to see, not that it'll be the same, but to give an idea. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't keep him out too long, especially since it's something he dealt with a few years ago.
Was that at the beginning of 2020? Was that the first COVID year, or was that the kind of COVID shortened season the following year?
That was October 5th. He was expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks in 2020, October 5th, so almost 2021.
So he was with Denver when they started the season, December 23rd of 2020. So he must have bounced back from that relatively quickly. So hopefully it's the same case with Gary. Would hate to be without him for a number of weeks, but we'll just keep an eye on that and continue to monitor that.
And I don't know how often players have groin strains or whatever, but he also had one in 2016. So I don't know. It seems like an every 3 to 4 year thing with him at this point.
So it's something that at least he's accustomed to, and I'm sure knows how his body responds to treatment, and has a good idea of how to come back from that pretty strong. So, but yeah, we'll just, like the rest of you, we'll keep looking at those injury reports and and keep seeing if we can, get any type of updates from, Jamal Mosley. So, all right, Luke, let's talk about this Jazz game. So now we're going, all the way back to Thursday. So it's been a few days, but this is the nature of the NBA season with us. With the Monday and Thursday episodes, sometimes we got to wait a few days to talk about things. But again, going back to this, Markelle listed in the starting lineup 90 minutes before the game. 45 minutes later was scratched with a sore left knee. Gary Harris left this game in the second quarter. Back and forth game, really, especially the first half. Magic had a 14-point lead early in the third quarter, and later in the quarter, the Jazz cut the lead to 1. Magic pushed the lead back out to 10 in the fourth quarter. They led 104-94 with 6:39 left in the game. Lauri Markkanen hits a 3 with 1:15 to go, which cuts the Magic lead to 2. We're up 2 with 33 seconds left, and Cole takes a pretty tough contested baseline jumper. He misses it, which I guess we can talk about that shot specifically, because it seemed like the last couple of minutes of this game we saw play out 8 or 10 times last season. It looked like it was going to be a collapse. So he misses that jumper. The Jazz come down the other end. Kelly Olynyk finds Markkanen wide open at the top of the key for an open 3. He hits it. The Jazz take the lead with 20 seconds left. Magic timeout. And at this point, Luke, I'm convinced the Magic are going to lose this game. I've seen this play out time and time again. We just saw a couple of games before that in LA. End of the game, you need a good shot. Magic weren't able to do so. This time was different. Paolo Banchero had 28 points up to this point. Paolo gets the ball at the top of the key, drives right, cuts back left through John Collins and Jordan Clarkson with the left-hand scoop finish to put the Magic up 1. Talen Horton-Tucker has a pretty good look at a 3. He misses. Wendell Carter Jr. collects the rebound and is fouled by Kelly Olynyk with 1.3 seconds left. He falls to the ground, grabbing at the left hand. He gets up. He's shaking his head. He's basically doubled over, holding the left hand. I'm not great at lip reading, but I'm pretty sure he said to Jonathan Isaac, like while they're on the floor, like it's broken or I broke it, something like that. Later on, now we know that he was diagnosed with a fractured third metacarpal in his left hand. He'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. And at this point, this is something that Kevin and I screwed up on the playback. A lot of times, when a guy, goes out, and going back to like college and in high school, that's the extent of our basketball experience here. Coach picks who wants to be subbed in of the team that has the injured player, and then the opposing coach picks who on the floor at that point he wants to take the free throws. And the NBA does not work that way, and this was our mistake, and we're correcting it now. Will Hardy had the ability to pick anybody on the Magic roster, on the bench, on the floor, regardless, to sub into the game and have to take these 2 free throws after Wendell was fouled. Will Hardy smartly picks the rookie, who is not a great free throw shooter, in Anthony Black. Anthony Black comes in, splits the free throws. Now the Magic are up 2 with 1.3 seconds left. Kelly Olynyk just throws a bad inbounds pass. Franz steals the inbound, throws the ball to the other end. Magic win 115-113. Luke, what are your thoughts like going through the last couple of minutes of this game as the Magic are sort of unraveling and then they're able to squeak out the victory here?
It's really echoing the sentiment of thinking this game was over, right? Like you've come that far, you've seen this movie before. All signs point to the Jazz at home absolutely hitting the game winner at the end of that game. Like it didn't seem like that wasn't going to happen, honestly. We were down 2 and I was like, I just think they're going to go for the 3 just to end it. And the truth is with this game, man, like the second quarter was the only quarter that the Magic really showed out in this game. It's the only quarter that the Magic won. Thankfully, it was an incredible quarter where the Magic put up 36 points to Utah's 24. But outside of that, and obviously Paolo and Franz combining for 51, from the team perspective, I don't know that I really would have expected the Magic to win this game after knowing everything I know about the game. Just because the other 3 quarters were they just weren't anything like that second quarter, man. And I'm looking back through it now too. Markkanen hits the 3 with that 19 seconds left. And it's like, man, I don't know if we're even going to convert. I mean, we've been burned in the last week by sideline out of bounds plays, right? Like we just came off of that against the Lakers. So I thought this is deja vu. This is going to happen all over again. But man, Paolo Banchero with the finish that was gutsy and is everything you want in your guy. And if there was any doubt about if Paolo Banchero was back, that erased any doubt that I had. I was like, okay, this isn't just a one-off thing. Paolo Banchero is back. He's himself. He's not afraid of the moment, not afraid to take the shot, and not to mention it being offhanded layup there and then an acrobatic shot to take the lead.
Yeah, Paolo, first game winner of his career. He posted that to his Instagram story today. And I knew that, but for a second I was like, is it really? And then no, like that really was his first game winner. We talked about that all off season, that those were going to come in time. Franz got the majority of those looks last season, and I think we all agreed that like it's going to be Paolo's turn, for those eventually. And he had a couple, like last year in overtime against the Clippers. I think he had like 7 points in overtime and just like really dominated, which essentially like was the game winner to a certain extent, but maybe not the way that we always seem to talk about them. But yeah, like this was like game on the line. You got to get a bucket. Ended up winning the game. That was his first game winner, and it was just awesome. I was so happy to like squeak out with that win, but really it started in the second quarter that you're talking about, where the Magic really got going, putting up 36 points, because the previous 3 games, against the Blazers, against the Lakers, against the Clippers, Kevin and I were watching this Jazz game on playback, and the beginning of the game, we're like, where is the joy that we're used to seeing this team play with? Where is the energy and the fight that we're accustomed to seeing this team play with? And we were talking about Jalen. We're like, look at Jalen. Like Jalen is all over the place playing, like his hair is on fire. Everybody needs to have that energy. And something like at the end of the first quarter going into the second, something changed. Like we started to knock down shots. It felt like the offense was picking up momentum and sort of getting that swagger back. And that carried throughout the rest of the second quarter, great quarter that you're talking about. But as we got down the stretch, it was like we had a 14-point lead, second half on the road. And I started to have flashbacks against Oklahoma City last year, where I think we had an 18-point lead in the second half, in the third quarter. And then you go on to lose that game. And I'm like, good teams don't do this. When you have a double digit, like almost a 15-point lead on the road in the second half, good teams find a way to close out that game. Now, the next sort of point of growth and evolution of this team will being, okay, this is a 14-point lead. Well, we need to make this a 20-point lead and like really just take their will before they have a chance to get back into this game. They let them get back into this game. And it seemed like at the end, like there were a few turnovers. Cole Anthony, has sort of like the ill-advised, baseline jumper, had Franz wide open on the wing, like right behind him. If he would have swung the ball, could have got a much better look there. But made the plays that they needed to at the end. Jamal Mosley made some good substitutions, getting Jonathan Isaac into the game for the final possession there, putting the ball in Paolo Banchero's hands, and Paolo just making a great play and was really fantastic in this game. And I was more relieved than anything that we got out of there with the win. Yeah. But looking back on it, it's like we finally got the first great Paolo Banchero performance of the year. 30 points, 9 of 13, almost 70% from the floor, 11 of 15 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Yes, he had 6 turnovers, but that was like the scoring output that you and I were begging for the last episode.
It is, and I also want to add, I don't need to elaborate on Paolo. I mean, I did with him hitting that left-handed layup there down the stretch to win the game, essentially. But what I want to talk about really with as far as this game goes is last episode I talked about the struggles with that third quarter. Comes out and it just felt like so often already, only a few games into the season, this team was just getting hit in the mouth. I was proud of the team against Utah because it had become a trend. And the Magic go from being up 8 at the half to being up 14 within the first couple minutes of that third quarter. So, yes, a great team would have continued to extend that lead, but kind of taking their will to the Utah's will to win there at the beginning of the third, extending it to 14 is something we hadn't seen. We hadn't seen something as small as that. We punched them in the mouth first, and it gave us enough leeway to go on to win this game. Because if Utah comes out and does that to you in the third quarter, what you did to them, that sends you on a downward spiral the rest of this game. They outscore you both quarters of the second half. You just did barely enough to get by. So that was one of my takeaways there. Also, Jalen Suggs faking a box out. What?
Never seen that before in my life.
What? In the most loving and respectful way. What a psycho. Like, Jalen Suggs is just willing to do whatever it takes.
It was very like Jose Alvarado-ish.
Very.
Like hiding in the corner and like coming up for the steal.
Yeah. No, man, I couldn't believe it. Because at first glance, really all it looked like was that he made a great play going for the board and then just wreaking havoc in there. He misses the putback essentially, but then gets the ball and just puts his head right into the sternum of, and I don't remember if it was Markkanen or which Utah player it was, but just making plays like a freaking bulldog that he is. Man, just super impressive. But yeah, first glance, you don't even know he faked the box out. And then I saw replays and everything on social media and whatever, and I was like, wow, he legitimately faked the box out. Like, he had no idea Jalen was going to crash the boards.
And I hope I'm not being like too critical of like the way that they almost gave up the game, because like this was a game on the road, the last game of a road trip that you absolutely needed to have. And on the road, like I said, last game of the road trip, if you lose this, you go 1-3 on the road trip. You're going home 2-3 instead of 3-2 to take on the Lakers, especially after like two tough like straight losses against the Lakers and against the Clippers. Like, really proud of the way that this team continued to fight throughout the entire game and eventually pull out the W. Already talked about Paolo Banchero, fantastic performance. I could not ask for anything more from Paolo in this one. Franz, 21 points, but on 22 shots, so a little bit inefficient. But we've been asking for 2 years for Franz to realize how good he is and sometimes just like go and get his shots. And that's exactly what he did in this one. Cole Anthony, again, fantastic off the bench. 18 points, 5 of 10 from the floor, added 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 7 assists to 3 turnovers. I love that. Jalen Suggs, 4 steals, just causing havoc all night. Not the offensive performance that you want out of Jalen Suggs, but he's just so disruptive defensively that if he has, nights like this every now and again, you're pretty much okay with living with it. Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs got into foul trouble in the first half of this game, and then Gary Harris goes out. Anthony Black stepped up in a big way with almost 16 minutes, 9 points, 4 of 4 from the floor, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Was great defensively, was just always in the right spot, cutting at the right time, like made some Franz-esque cuts. Like, this just goes to show you the kid's like offensive IQ and just basketball IQ in general, but just made some really great plays. We're going to talk about him more as we talk about the Lakers game, but what a performance from Anthony Black. And then a great Wendell performance. Like, we really needed a good Wendell performance. We had been talking about Pella. We talked about Wendell, and both of them stepped up in big ways in this game. Wendell had 14 points, 10 rebounds, shot 3 of 6 from behind the arc, was just really good in this game. And then it was just absolutely spoiled by the injury at the end of the game, which now we've talked again, it's the fractured third metacarpal in his left hand, going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. But Luke, I just want to take a couple of minutes here to talk about what the injury means for Wendell, what it means for the Magic. I think my immediate thoughts, like after the game, like once I got over the, like, oh man, I feel terrible for Wendell. Oh man, this really sucks for our team. We talked about this all off season. One thing the Magic needed to do is they needed to make an upgrade at the backup center position. And although we got a great game out of both Goga Batadze and Mo Wagner on Saturday against the Lakers, I personally am not sold that we're going to be okay at the center position while Wendell is out. I think those guys are capable of having good games. I think they will have good games, but a lot of times what keeps you from being a good player in the NBA is consistency and being able to do that on a night in and night out basis. And if the Magic struggle during this point while Wendell is away, I think we're going to look back and be like, you should have upgraded like the backup center position in the offseason.
It's hard to ignore. And that goes into what I was saying at the top of the show about this is great, but you just don't feel good about it. Like there's a reason that Goga was getting DNPs. I mean, that's the truth. Completely share the sentiment. Definitely concerning. You want, no offense to Goga or Mo, you would like a better option in this scenario with a center who struggles to give you 55 games, 60 games in a year. So is what it is, and we'll take it and roll with it, obviously, and they're going to do everything they can in their power, Goga and Mo, that is, Coach Mosley, to make sure that this goes as smoothly as possible over the next few weeks until we get Wendell back. It's a small fraction of the season, but a bad stretch can really break a team down.
Let's say the Magic get Wendell like right after Christmas, like at the absolute earliest. He's missing 20 games, like right off the bat. You know, he played the first, what was that, 5 games of the season, and now is going to, miss 20, come back for the 26th game, and then we'll have, 56 more games to get through, hopefully without injury. It's just, if the Magic struggle, right, I reserve the right to be wrong. I'm totally fine with that. If Goga and Mo just like really hold down the fort while Wendell is out, I will, whatever. I'll take the L on that. I'll be more than happy to do so, but I have my reservations on whether or not it's going to go well. I do think the Magic can survive without Wendell. I mean, they showed us last year. They went on that 6-game winning streak without Wendell. If I'm not mistaken, I think maybe a game or two of that. They were also missing Paolo. Maybe he was still dealing with the ankle injury. I feel like I remember that. I could be wrong on that. But this team is better than they were last year. They're deeper than they were last year. I do think they're better positioned to handle a loss like Wendell, especially as other guys are stepping up and giving us good minutes here. But I think there's the opportunity that we look back and we're like, that should have happened. And maybe because the playoffs or the postseason or whatever may not yet be the number one goal of this organization, maybe they're like, yeah, no, we're sort of okay with just taking our lumps. We weren't really ready to make that move. But that's just still sort of like the one criticism that I would have of this offseason, that this exact scenario, you could see it coming from a mile away. We talked about it for 2 straight months after free agency started, before the season started, that like, hey, Wendell is a guy that you can, pretty much figure that he's going to miss, 20 to 25 games a year. And we're looking at him potentially missing 20 games here.
First of all,
if not more.
There's no way, I hope, there's no way that this team doesn't have playoffs and in the forefront of the mind, especially with the start, the way Paolo is now back. Like, I just struggle to believe that that's not the case. And therefore, I'm hopeful that this gets figured out, whether that's Wendell coming back. Do we think there's a possibility he comes back when he's reevaluated in 3 weeks?
There's no way.
I don't think so.
So the third metacarpal, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'll try to describe this as best as possible if you're listening along. So the third metacarpal is like the bone that is like inside the hand of the finger that like connects your finger to your wrist. So like it's a finger, but he's essentially broken his hand. Mm-hmm. So I just don't see how you come back from that in 3 weeks. Like,
yeah,
there's no way.
Especially when you're typically prone to injury as it is. I don't know how well his body heals necessarily. The other thing that I will say before we move on to our break here, Jonathan, is I still feel better than, let's say, last year in this situation with players going down. because you have a guy that like Anthony Black that jumps in. We know we've talked all about Fultz's impact on winning. He's almost 500 with the Magic's record with him is almost 500 when he plays. He's 10 games below 500.
Anthony Black's undefeated.
It's true. There's not a lot.
I'm not trying to start the Magic civil war here like some people are.
But anyway, like Fultz largely impacts winning, but the thing is, right now when you do have depth, it's less of a struggle, right? Like we still expect the Magic to struggle at times without Wendell, without Markelle, without Gary Harris as well. We'll talk more about that as well, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know this state the Magic are in right now, how good or bad we should be feeling about these injuries. But I feel like we're going to find out this week.
And this is a conversation I think we're also going to have as we talk about the Lakers game. You can't really talk about the Lakers game without talking about the absence of Wendell and the way that Goga and Mo Wagner played. So we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes here. But before we do that, I just want to give a special shout out to the folks that help make each and every episode possible. We literally could not be doing what we do without our wonderful patrons. So if you don't know what a patron is, patrons are part of our Patreon community. If you don't know what Patreon is a platform essentially where you can help financially support your creators and be part of a larger community in supporting the creators that create the content that you love. Part of our benefits with our Patreon community is we shout out brand new patrons whenever we have them. We like to give them a special and heartfelt thank you. So a big thank you to Ahmad Timsa, our newest patron who joined at our Hall of Fame level. Really, really appreciate your support and welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. And then we give a special shout out to all of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons each and every episode. I have the honor and the pleasure of doing that now. So I'll go ahead and start with the Court Cousins, and then best friend Drew Gooden, Armin Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Normal, Magic Player History, Gabe Gaines, Wiffle, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapong, Donkey Punch Dave, Paolo and Franz's Warmth, Pierre A, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Eduardo Sanchez. Congratulations, Mikey. Congratulations, Mikey, for whatever it is. I don't really know, but congratulations. Danimal, Dodo 15, Bobby Skinner, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Jose Esquilin, Caleb Pete, Time Mr. TV, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Freak, and Shahan 177, Bobby the Don, Himlo, Ben Himro, R Improv 221, Ray Pastrana, Spanking Season, Soft Taco, Victor Cologne, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, Only Franz, Maria, Keith Wallace, Fritz, Currency Kev, Bruv Sal, Kason Green, Santi Leon, Kane Eckler, The Distract, and again, Ahmad Timsa. Thank you to all of our patrons. If you would like to join our Patreon and be part of the community, you can find us at patreon.com/The Six Man Show. Luke, I was at Saturday's game against the Lakers, covering the game for our outlet, as media, credential and all that kind of awesome jazz. The drive-in, first of all, can we just talk about the Turnpike for like 5 seconds here?
Terrible.
2 of like the last 3 times I've been on the Florida Turnpike, there have been vehicle fires. I don't know what it is about the Turnpike, but cars just be catching on fire. My ETA went from 416 to 446 to 546 over the course of like 5 minutes. Now, luckily, I ended up getting to Amway about 445. What I believe happened. But Luke and I ran into the same thing on the night of the draft, driving back from Orlando on the Turnpike. And I must have sat in traffic, Luke, that night for about 50 minutes because a semi-truck had literally caught fire. So I don't know what is going on with the Turnpike, but let's figure out how to stop these cars from catching fire. That is what I would hope moving forward here.
Yeah, the Turnpike's cursed.
As I pulled into Amway, Luke, I started to get a little bit nervous because I pulled like the front of Amway, saw everybody walking into the building, a lot of purple and gold, which Lakers are in town. That is to be expected, but I was hoping that this year would be different. Get up to the media loge. Teams are coming out of the tunnel. The Lakers come out. The crowd got very loud during starting lineups. Crowd was very loud. When they call LeBron James, crowd got really, really loud. For the Magic, the crowd got almost as loud. So I was still like, okay, this kind of sucks, but this is definitely better than what we've had in recent years. to start the game, it was pretty close. The crowd was pretty loud when the Magic would do something. The crowd was louder when the Lakers would do something. The crowd was a lot louder when LeBron would do something. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we need to make sure that we're putting this game away pretty early, or that Lakers crowd is really going to start to be an issue. But the Magic, maybe not my. Okay, I'll say to my surprise. We talked about this, Luke. You and I both picked this early last week to be a game that the Magic would lose. But the Magic really come out of the gate in the first quarter, take a pretty nice lead against the Lakers, led 39-25 after one. And at halftime, led this game 67-51, had a big lead. Paolo Banchero, again, just absolutely phenomenal in this game. Started the game, I think, 6 for 6 and 2 of 2 from the three-point line. Was hitting his free throws, was making plays for everybody else. Goga Bitadze starts the game with a huge block on Anthony Davis that really set the tone here. The rookie, Anthony Black, probably should have led with this. Sorry, Anthony. But the rookie, Anthony Black, gets the start with Gary Harris out, with Markelle Fultz out. And he and Jalen in that first quarter, along with Goga Bitadze, really helped set the tone, but forced the Lakers into 7 turnovers. Magic were getting out in transition. We're able to take advantage of those opportunities, Luke. But then you're like, okay, great first half lead. First half leads in the NBA don't really mean anything, unless they're 20 plus. Usually you're safe. With that 16-point lead, it was so important for the Magic to come out, get off to a good start. Lakers, they make a little bit of a run in that third quarter. Magic are able to push the lead out just a little bit more. End of the third quarter, I think the Magic were up by 16. LeBron has the ball, and he had already, hit a one or two difficult threes in this game. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a 16-point, it was a 19-point game. LeBron, I'm thinking to myself, if he hits a three, that's going to cut the lead to 16. Going to give these Lakers, fans here a lot of hope, get them energized going into the fourth quarter. Really wouldn't be a good thing for us. Franz Wagner ends up with the steal, goes the other way for the dunk to give the Magic a 21-point lead going into the fourth quarter. You're feeling pretty good. Now, a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter, Jamal Mosley went with Jonathan Isaac to start the fourth quarter, give them a little bit of defense, had a nice block on LeBron at the three-point line to start the quarter. Very next possession, good contest on Anthony Davis. Now, this is where we're going to talk about this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. Franz Wagner gets the rebound, starts heading the other way. Mo Wagner's got an open lane down the left-hand side, drives to the rim. Franz throws the perfect lob. Mo Wagner grabs it, slams it down. Amway Center goes crazy, gives the Magic a 25-point lead early in the fourth quarter, Luke. And at that point, I'm thinking, the game's got to be over, right? You're up 25 in the fourth quarter. There's no way the Magic are going to lose this game. And just, it was really a culmination of everything. You had just lost to this team on Monday. Now you've got them at your house. You're coming off of a win, last game of the road trip. I heard probably 3 or 4 different team employees talking about the flight back from Utah before this game, how they didn't get in until 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and just how they barely got any sleep that day and how everybody was so tired and feeling awful. And that, with the fact that we were missing Markelle, missing Gary, missing Wendell, I'm thinking, man, this is not going to be a good night. We've seen this play out time and time again. Tons of Lakers fans in the building. But being up, Franz throws that lob to Mo Wagner. The crowd is going crazy, puts them up by 25. For all of those reasons, Luke, I think that has to be the Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week.
100% the Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. As you guys have heard on this show before, Jam Hot Chicken, located in Winter Park there, located at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. And they're bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. You guys can follow them on social media at Jam Hot Chicken, or you can visit online, jamhotchickenfl.com. You can look at their, access the menu, online ordering, music playlists, all things Jam Hot. go check them out. If you go to them in person, obviously, just tell them us at the Six Man Show sent you.
Luke, I want to take us back to the fourth quarter here. Now, Lakers go on a little bit of run. We talked about, the Magic had the 25-point lead. They cut the lead to 13 with 5 minutes and 16 seconds to go. Teams sort of go back and forth, turnovers, missing a couple of shots. Magic get the ball back with 4 minutes, 23 seconds. Goga Batadze gets the rebound. Paolo Banchero finds Cole Anthony at the top of the key for an open three with 4:05 to go. He sinks it to put the Magic up 113-97, gives them a 16-point lead. Now, a 16-point lead with 4 minutes to go, 99 times out of 100, you're winning that game. But you don't usually see teams just throw in the towel at this point. But Darvin Ham calls a timeout and takes all of the starters out and essentially waves the white flag at that point, effectively ending the game. It was a huge shot from Cole Anthony. We'll talk about him in this game. He was great. Obviously, Paolo Banchero was fantastic. A lot of guys were really good in this game. But to drive that knife into the heart of all of the Lakers faithful there, into the Lakers themselves, I see Darvin Ham call the timeout. I'm like, okay, 4 minutes left, 16-point lead. Like, probably not pulling everybody just yet. Maybe going to give it another minute or so to see if they can start a run. But then I see the scrubs coming over and taking off their warm-ups, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this game is actually over. We are blowing out the Lakers at home. We are moving to 4-2. We were minutes away from that win Monday in LA. Had you gotten that, now you'd be 5-1, and just all of like the crazy overreactions in my mind start. Like the Magic are fourth in the Eastern Conference now. What does this mean for the rest of the season? Obviously, Goga was awesome in this game. Mo Wagner was awesome in this game. Mo Wagner in the third quarter just really took over and was fantastic in this game. Pulling up the third quarter stats now, and as NBA.com is just taking a moment to load here, offensive rebounds. Yeah, he was nowhere near as good in that third quarter as I thought he was. It felt like it was all Mo Wagner in that third quarter. Maybe it was the fourth quarter. No, Mo Wagner, just 2 points in that fourth quarter. I don't know what it was. The offensive rebounds in this game for the Magic, I believe it was 19 offensive rebounds for the Magic. It was just bodying the Lakers the entire night. Mo Wagner was a part of that. But beating them at home, their fans going home immediately after the game. Dante talking to Paolo after the game about the Lakers fans that were in attendance, and Paolo basically said, "Look, it's about the Magic. Like this is a new day. We're here. Like it is a new day for the Orlando Magic. Just a really exciting game, Luke. Big win over the Lakers. Always good to hand LeBron James and Anthony Davis a loss and see the Lakers fans go home early.
This team did a great job just from obviously those first three quarters were great. Up until the fourth quarter, you won every single quarter. Quite the reverse from what we saw in that Utah game. But the Magic were up 101-80 going into that fourth quarter, and it felt right. It felt great. I felt awesome about it. But it starts with the beginning, right? It starts with how did Coach Mosley set this team up for success? And the way he did it was maybe a gutsy way to do it. Anthony Black kind of throwing him into the fire. Thankfully, he maybe got a little bit of jitters out in that Jazz game when he came in and had to play an integral part of that. He comes into this one, he starts the game. Obviously, we know Goga comes in, he starts the game over Mo, who Goga had been getting DMPs to that point. So you're thinking, how's this going to play out? Goga has that block at the beginning of the game, Jonathan, and that's when I think that I'm sure that helped the team settle in a little bit quicker than they might have if AD comes in and just dominates Goga Batadze to start the game, scores a quick bucket, and then we're going the other way.
Like he did on Monday.
Yeah. Just very impressive way to set the tone for Goga. There's one thing I know about Goga, especially defensively, is he's not going to be starstruck by the Lakers or whatever. Like he is very much, I'm about my business. whatever you guys want me to do, I'll come in and I'll do it. I know my role in this on this team. Goga comes in, he executes, right? And you think it just can't get any better than that. Can't get any better than Goga coming in, getting a block on the first play, and then getting everybody else going. But it does. It gets better than that with the man himself, Anthony Black. I couldn't believe it. He's out here hitting threes. He goes 2 for 3 from 3 in this game. He's got the corner 3 locked down. And my favorite part of the game was he hits a 3, turns around, he's chirping at the Lakers bench.
Quarter.
Yeah. He hits that 3 from the corner, turns around, and he has a couple words for the Lakers bench. I couldn't get enough of it. I was like, oh, okay. The moment's not too big for Anthony Black. The kid is confident, and that's what Mosley said too. He said, I told AB he's starting, and he just looked at me and said, okay. He didn't seem like he was overjoyed. Now, don't get me wrong. Behind closed doors, AB, like to himself, was like super excited about the opportunity. But to him, able to conduct himself, compose himself, and go out and make plays, letting us know the moment's not too big for Anthony Black. Kevin last night on the postgame live was asked by somebody, hey, I didn't catch the game. Can you give me like 2 players that you would say were the keys to this game? Kevin, there was really no wrong answer. My answer, just to be different and what I thought, like I heard him say it on the show, and I was like, okay, these are the 2 I would say. He said Paolo and Franz. Because they combined for 51 for the second straight night in a row. But my answer would have been, and is, Paolo Banchero and Anthony Black. Those 2 guys made a huge difference. Franz Wagner, really, highest career field goal attempts in a game at 28. Shoots 12 of 28 from the field to go with only 26 points. Didn't get to the free throw line. Didn't do a great job of getting to the free throw line in that Jazz game either. So, pretty inefficient night for Franz Wagner. So for me, man, Paolo Banchero, 9 of 15, 25 points, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, 50% on threes. And then obviously Anthony Black, like I said, just making plays and making his presence felt as the rookie that he is. It sure didn't feel like he was a rookie. And to all encapsulate this game, it felt like the perfect ratio of how I want the Magic to play in terms of 3-point attempts. 33 of them. About in the range that you and I had talked about a few weeks ago, where this team needs to be in order to be a threat from 3, but not totally dependent, right? Preseason, we saw the team was very dependent on the 3. This game, 33 attempts, 36.5% essentially from 3, hits 12 of them. I think that was perfect. Joe Ingles, 5 3-point attempts in 25 minutes. Obviously, Gary Harris not being in was increasing minutes, his 3-point attempts, those sort of things. But if Joe Ingles can get 3 to 4 threes a game in the 15 to 20 minutes, it's probably going to be more like 15 from what we've seen so far, maybe a little less. But I just thought from top to bottom, from the perimeter, this team did exactly what they needed to win this game. So I think that was one of my main takeaways, and I'll talk about a couple more in a couple minutes here. But
yeah, I think with Franz, like the 28 field goal attempts, like there were probably 5 or 6 shots in this game. I was like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, you're doing just a little bit too much there. But I would much rather Franz be at 28 field goal attempts than like 12 or 14, like we were accustomed to seeing out of him last year. I'm okay with him being sort of like ultra aggressive, right? Obviously, look, you blow out the Lakers at home, you're not really going to find a ton to be mad about when you look at this game, right? Now, if this is a 15-point loss to the Lakers, we're probably feeling a little bit different about Franz's performance. So the win definitely does hide some things. We're all feeling pretty good about this. Second game in a row from Paolo Banchero. 25 points, 7 rebounds, a career high 10 assists. His first ever point assist double-double in this game. 9 of 15, 60% from the floor, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Just a masterful Paolo Banchero game. He talked about like how at the end of last season, he had finally figured out like how to get like his teammates involved when other teams were sort of like doubling and tripling him, and he's trying to carry that over into this season. And this was just a perfect example of that, like really picking his spots. One of my favorite plays in the game, obviously, crosses over LeBron James, goes into Anthony Davis with the and one. Just like, so I think it was Welcott posted the meme of like LeBron with like a fake quote saying, "Oh snap, like I guess it's time to pass the torch." This wasn't exactly like a pass the torch moment, but like that is coming. Like Paolo Banchero being one of the better players in this league, I think is going to happen a lot faster than some people realize, maybe even faster than we realized. We talked about this and we posted the clip from the last episode where we were talking about a couple of weeks from now, we're going to look back on this and laugh and think like, oh, wow, people were so dumb to be like concerned. And I was a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie. Paolo didn't look great through preseason and, the first handful of games there. But the quote after the Jazz game to me just so perfectly encapsulates Paolo Banchero. Like when we talk about his confidence and like that really unshakable confidence, he's talking to Kendra Douglas after the game. She's talking about the scoring outburst and, what that meant to him. He said, "Rough start, so what? This is what I do." Like, and the way that man said that, I'm giddy and I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like, rough start, so what? This is what I do. Like, the fact that you could tell that the rough start, he wasn't happy about it, but it wasn't shaking his confidence maybe like we all thought it was. And he's like, no, this is what I do. This is who I am. I've done this my entire life. And now I'm about to go give LeBron James 25, 10, and 7. All right, watch me work.
Yeah.
So Paolo Banchero just like two like back-to-back games. Like it's a new day talking about the Magic. 2 back-to-back games with 2 of my favorite Paolo quotes of all time. Was just a ton of fun. Goga, great minutes. We talked about him. 10 points, 10 rebounds. Mo Wagner, the quarter that I was thinking about was the second quarter. He was great in the second quarter, but great throughout this game. 13 points, 8 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds. Goga Bitadze had 4 offensive rebounds. Cole Anthony had 3 in this game. Absolute dog. Cole had 14 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist as well. Jalen Suggs with, outside of like the jam of the weeks that we're talking about, maybe the most exciting play of the season so far. The nutmeg on D'Angelo Russell to Joe Ingles for the 3, which was Joe Ingles' first 3 of the season at home. And Kevin joked about it on the post-game live last night, but legitimately, if Joe Ingles didn't hit that 3, I don't know if anybody would have been rushed out of Orlando quicker in the history of the Magic than Joe Ingles, because that would have been an all-time wasted highlight had he not canned that 3.
You know what Joe Ingles was probably saying, would have said, and it would say if he was here right now, he'd say, "Rough start, so what? That's what I do.
This is what I do.
This is what I do." Joe Ingles hits that 3, man. Dude, that was so good. And Suggs now feels like we're getting a highlighted game from him, from the fake box out play in Utah to this one against LA. Jalen Suggs loves the bright lights, and I love Jalen Suggs. A couple other things, Jonathan, here before we get going. As I was kind of making notes going through the game, we'll see how this plays out. And I said it, when we were recapping the Utah game. Wendell goes out. You got to think Goga Bitadze, yes, he has a great game tonight, but more film maybe. They get on to Goga. Time goes on. You can't be that consistent all the time. Otherwise, you would have been getting minutes prior, right? But it does raise the question. When nobody's stopping Anthony Davis. I'll preface with that. But all things considered, man, Goga did a good job. He did a very respectable job with his 5 blocks. Something that Mo doesn't give you, Wendell doesn't give you. Mo is more of that offensive firepower when you need it, spark plug. Wendell is a rim deterrent. We've talked about that. He's not a rim protector, I wouldn't say, and he's not known for blocking shots. Goga gives you that aspect. It does kind of open the door to, if the matchup permits it, in the starting lineup on the other team. Does Goga Batadze get spot minutes and match up with guys like that? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but it is interesting to think about. I don't think that it ends up being that way, but it is interesting to think about because he at least earned that conversation in this game against the Lakers. Also, I talk about Anthony Black. One of the notes that I have was, how do we get Anthony Black minutes even with Fultz healthy with a bunch of question marks? I don't know. But part of me is like, man, he needs minutes. Much like Goga, in the term of he's not going to be this steady, this consistent. And if he is, he deserves a conversation about heavy minutes and it maybe in the closing unit for this team. I don't know, right? Like if that were a reality for him to be this consistent night in and night out, that's a different conversation. But eventually he's a rookie. He's going to have bad games. He might have high turnover games. Might not, be the best or be what we thought he is maybe after this Laker game. But what it did show me is that he's got a long future ahead. Anthony Black is going to make this front office have really tough conversations in the next half a year, few months even. And I really do believe that. Markelle Fultz, for the sake of Markelle Fultz, I don't think he's looking over his shoulder right now by any means, but eventually he's going to have to. And he's got to hope that he's in this lineup again sometime soon. Because Anthony Black is just going to continue to win over the fans, the front office, if he continues to play like this. That's a big if. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I do think that the conversations will happen.
So what I do think sort of hinges on a lot of what is being talked about now, because immediately like Anthony Black comes in, makes a big impact. Yep. Starts Saturday, makes a big impact, is a big reason why the Magic won this game, and a big reason that why they got up early, knocking down, the corner threes.
Mm-hmm.
But part of what I think that is going to hinge on is his ability to make shots, right? So far to start the season, the results with Jalen Suggs shooting the basketball haven't been great. When we talked about Jalen Suggs theoretically starting alongside Markelle Fultz, it was under the theory that Jalen has to be at least a league average 3-point shooter. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I'm having some issues getting web pages to load right now, so I don't have Jalen's 3-point averages in front of me. But I know they're well below league average right now.
He's shooting about the same attempts as last year so far. Obviously, small sample size. He's shooting 3.7 threes a game. Last year, he shot 3.8. He is right now shooting 27.3%, whereas last year he shot 32, almost 33.
Right. So, can Jalen Suggs, Markelle lineup work long term with both of those being non-shooters? I don't think so. Sure, we've seen the big scoring outburst from Paolo Banchero, but if you're looking to optimize what he and Franz do, they need maybe not all the space in the world to operate, because I think those guys can find their spots and just find angles that maybe don't look like they're there. I think they're that good to be able to do that. But you need more spacing than what we've seen recently.
Yeah. Now,
if Anthony Black is going to knock down 2 out of 3 corner threes a game, we can have a conversation. I'm not sold on that just yet.
No, either.
Like the mechanics are much better than they were in Summer League and what we saw at Arkansas, but I'm still not anywhere near the point of being like, okay, yeah, Anthony Black is a shooter. I'm so happy. If he never does anything else for the Magic, I will always remember this game against the Lakers when he shot the ball really well and hit a couple of corner threes to help the Magic win this game. Will forever be awesome. But if we're talking about, like people are talking about, oh, let's trade Markelle, like let's just start Anthony Black, it doesn't get rid of these issues that I think people think it would just alleviate. Sure, your defense is probably a little bit better. Anthony Black's probably a better defender than Markelle Fultz right now. His size really gave D'Angelo Russell issues in this game. There were a few looks that I thought D'Angelo Russell was going to take and probably normally does, but Anthony Black's size and length really deterred him from taking some of those looks. So sure, it helps you defensively. I'm not sold that it helps the offense right now.
No,
and we're talking about he's, I don't want to say given minutes, sort of was out of circumstance because guys are out, so somebody's got to come in and fill that role. I think if anything, like if he just continues to play so well where you just can't ignore the kid and he has to play, it's got to facilitate the move of one of the other guards. And at this point, I hate to say this, it would probably be Markelle. If the Anthony Black we've got in the last 2 games is the guy that we're going to get all the time and he's going to give you that type of impact on a nightly basis, hard not to play that kid. You took him with the 6th overall pick. Markelle's a free agent. Whose ceiling do you believe in more at this point? I think that would be a fair conversation to be had. I think what is more likely, and people aren't going to like this because it's going to affect shooting, but it would probably more so facilitate a Gary Harris move. I don't think you're going to shake up the starting lineup this early in the season, even given how well Anthony Black has played. And look, we're talking about like 6 quarters so far. We're not even talking about 2 full games or 10 full games. We're talking about essentially six quarters here. So let's all just sort of slow down a little bit here. But if the Magic aren't really looking to move Markelle, which I don't think they are, I don't think they're going to be super pumped to move Gary Harris with the way that he's been shooting the ball to start the season. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibilities. Everybody comes back that Anthony Black goes back to the bench for a time. Are they going to play 11 guys? I don't see that happening.
Which leads into my last point, really, Jonathan. Well, okay, number one, D'Lo, to your point, yes, Anthony Black played a huge part in that. D'Lo shoots, 10 3-pointers? Yeah, 10 3-pointers. He hits one of them. There was one in the corner late in the game that on a normal night, it felt like D'Lo hits that 3, the Lakers go on a run and win this game. But thankfully, Anthony Black had him second-guessing himself all night and goes on to shoot 1 of 10 from 3. I think it's maybe a little bit of an off-shooting night, but I also think that it's a lot of Anthony Black disturbing.
Monday was an off-shooting night for D'Lo, 10 of 14. So he kind of came back to the mean for us.
Yeah, so exactly. So that being said, we got our first look at the shortest rotation of the season, which I think says more about the guys that are on the bench that don't get many minutes for the Magic
Correct.
right now, being Chuma, Admiral. I mean, nothing against Admiral at any point, but Admiral, Caleb Houston, Jet Howard, all of them just playing garbage time for like 3 to 4 minutes. The shortest rotation, you play 8 guys with JI spot minutes, and that's the look you get, right? You had freaking Joe Ingles probably wishing he had conditioned better in this game. You had him playing 25 minutes. He's been used to playing 12. So that was interesting. I don't know what it means. I think, like I said, it means that's what their opinion is of the other guys, not to give them, one of them, like 12 minutes, keep Joe at 12, 13 minutes, whatever it might be, whether it be Jet or whoever. So that was interesting to me, just something to take away. And then the final thing too here, you've already said it, but I want to reiterate it. Offensive rebounds, everybody in the starting lineup had one. And Mo Wagner had 5. Goga 4. Just really awesome team effort in this one. Everybody but Franz, positive plus minus. Anthony Black, plus 32. Outrageous. It wouldn't mean that much if everybody else's, especially on the bench, wasn't just a single digit at the best, a single digit plus. Anthony Black, man, plus 32. Closest person to him was Gogo, plus 27. Go figure. I can't believe it.
Down the stretch of this game, like as Cole hits the big 3 that we've talked about that essentially ends the game, I was like really torn. I was like, I understand sticking with Cole here, but like Anthony Black and his minutes was just so impactful. I was like, I won't be mad if he goes back to Anthony Black because he was so good with the starting lineup. I'm not ready to like really pick my side with this conversation here. Like, does Anthony Black just have to be in the rotation no matter what moving forward, or does he go back to the bench? I want to see things for at least another couple of games. I would probably be surprised if Markelle plays Monday, just like given the sore knee and it's like questionable. Oh, game time decision. Oh, he's out. So on and so forth. Maybe we get our answer as soon as Monday, like as soon as tonight, as you all are listening to this. but I just don't think that I would be shocked that everybody comes back healthy, that Anthony Black goes back to the bench. And I know that sucks, and I know that's super unfair and frustrating to Anthony Black, but I think it's way too early in the season to make a big change like that. Now, if that happens, he goes back to the bench, and now all of a sudden the Magic look terrible again, then you have that conversation. Well, I would be so surprised if after a game and a half the Magic like, nope, Anthony Black's got to be in the lineup moving forward. This is what we're doing. So on and forth. It sucks, but if we're really the team that we say we are, and we are as good as we all think we are, sometimes rookies just get the short end of the stick. That's just the way that it is. That's the reality of the NBA with good teams.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on to the week ahead, Jonathan?
Yeah, let's do it. We talked about it tonight. Monday, got Dallas at home. That game tips off at 7 o'clock. Then you've got Tuesday off. I think the team is going to travel Wednesday to Mexico City, where they'll take on the Atlanta Hawks in Mexico City. That game is going to be on NBA TV. That game's not going to tip off until 9:30 p.m. Reminder, we're doing a playback for that game, so make sure that you come hang out, playback.tv/sixman show. And then the Magic return home on Saturday to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. That will be a 6 o'clock tip-off on Saturday versus the Milwaukee Bucks, Luke. So Dallas, Atlanta, Milwaukee, what do you see happening this week?
I got some exciting news, Jonathan. I got some very exciting news.
Don't say what I think you're going to say.
So the Mavericks played tonight, Sunday, Jonathan, and as we finish recording, the Mavericks end up pulling away. Okay?
They beat the Hornets.
The Hornets, yes. What did I say?
No, I was just saying they played the Hornets.
Okay.
I was just
Okay. I thought I just said the wrong team. No. So the Mavericks beat the Hornets 124-118. This info coming to me initially from the good old producer, Kevin Tucker. Luka plays 36 minutes. Kyrie plays 34. And they got to play tomorrow night in Orlando. The part that makes me happy, the Orlando Magic, your Orlando Magic, Jonathan, as injured and down and out as it may seem, the Orlando Magic are favored by 1.5 against the Dallas Mavericks on Monday.
1.5?
1.5.
Okay.
So essentially coming down to a pick'em. But
yeah,
you look at the Mavericks to this point, they're 5-1. You say, how is that even possible? Mavericks, like I said, Kyrie, Luka playing huge minutes in the game against the Hornets that they were supposed to beat the brakes off them. They were down at 12 at half. They come back, they claw back into this game, and they win. The Mavericks' only wins are against the Bulls, the Grizzlies, the Nets, and the Spurs. They lose, as maybe expected, definitely expected, by 11 to the Denver Nuggets, who I think are, on a side note, going to run through the entire NBA like no problem and win another championship. But yeah, so that's the Mavericks' wins to date. Not super impressive. They are 5-1. Vegas doesn't care. They said, we saw the Magic take care of business shorthanded against LeBron and Anthony Davis. The respect is coming because Vegas always is ahead of the curve. They know first. The
Not
respect
always.
is coming. A lot
Not
of the time.
always.
Unless it's a
the
win-loss.
over-under win totals, they're
Win totals
slacking.
different. But from the day-to-day, that's where I trust it. The Magic, man. So with that being said, I think the Magic win this game against the Mavericks. It's hard not to. I'm fired up after that, to be honest with you. I looked at ESPN. It said Orlando -1.5. I said, well, that's crazy to me. But I respect it. So I'm going to go the Magic win against them on Monday night. We get the win tonight as y'all are listening to this. You go to Mexico City. I'm going to say maybe the newness wears off with Goga and AB a little bit. I think you drop this game to Atlanta. So at this point in the week, Jonathan, you were 1-1. Then you go on to play the Bucks. Look at the Bucks; they're not coming off a back-to-back or anything like that. It's very tough for me to think that they win that game. So I think the Magic, unfortunately, go 1-2 this week.
I'm going 2-1. I think you win. You second night of a back-to-back. Got the Dallas Mavericks at home. Magic find a way to win that game. I think it's going to be close. Atlanta, I'm not sold on Atlanta. Yeah, they winners of 4 in a row. They play Oklahoma City Monday night. They're off Tuesday and Wednesday like the Magic, so it won't be like any sort of rest advantage. Basically, they're both flying the same distance to Mexico City here from the West Coast. I like the Magic to take care of business against the Atlanta Hawks. Rough performances against the Hawks last year. I think we get the W in this one, and then I think you probably lose to Milwaukee Saturday at home. So I've got the Magic 2-1 this week. If they're able to do that, Luke, then we're going to be sitting at 6-3 after 9 games, which I'll take all day. They'll also have a nice little 4-game winning streak at an early part in the season here. And I joked about this earlier today, but the Magic are sitting right there with the Hawks right now in the good old Eastern Conference standing. So there's a little bit of playoff implications here. Both teams find a way to win Monday. Basically, whoever wins that Thursday matchup is going to be a step above in the Eastern Conference standings. So, and that'll be our first Eastern Conference opponent of the year, first Southeastern Division opponent of the year as well. So you got a chance to get a good start in the Eastern Conference and in the Southeast Division. So I'm going 2-1. I'm hopeful. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. We have a good chance.
Hope you're right.
All right, Luke, I think that's going to do it for this one.
Yeah.
All right, folks, don't forget, tonight, Monday, 6 fan show outside of Amway after the game against the Mavericks. Find our boy Ben. Coming up on Friday, November 16th at 8 o'clock, we'll be at Wall Street Plaza for the watch party, Bulls versus the Bulls for the in-season tournament game. And then Thursday, we're going to have that playback starting at 9:30 when the Magic take on the Atlanta Hawks in that Mexico City game. Should be a good time. Again, you can find us at playback.tv/6man show. Forgot what the URL was for a minute there. Luke, that is going to do it for this one. For Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6 Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!